The idea of shared cinematic universes is something I still feel has a lot of untapped potential for storytelling in Hollywood, and as a fan of horror movies, and especially the old Universal Studios monsters, I would love to see a great new version of their monster universe. And maybe one day we'll get that, but for now, we're stuck with whatever this is. So I could come in here and explain the plot of this film to you, but it's not that complicated. It's The Mummy. They find a tomb, there's an evil creature trapped inside of a sarcophagus, they get cursed, giant sandstorm, the movie writes itself. Or so you think, except this movie has 6 different writers on it and it feels like none of them were allowed to talk to each other. Does this movie want to be a horror film, a big budget action film, a superhero movie, a comedy, the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie? This movie is all over the place and none of it is very good or very original. All throughout this film, you're going to find yourself pointing at things saying, okay, I know that from this film, that sounds exactly like this movie, I've seen this thing before, and whenever this film does try to be original, it's kind of worse than the stuff that they're ripping off. Take Tom Cruise's character Nick. They want him to be a lovable rogue, a rapscallion, a thief who looks like a bad guy, but he actually has a heart of gold. Except he's just kind of a scumbag. He's not clever, not funny, he has no good lines of dialogue, there isn't really any silver lining to his character, he's not even good at his job. At no point during this film do you feel yourself wanting to be on his side. There's a moment at the beginning of this film after you see him endangering his friend's life for a plan that he reveals he didn't think through and wouldn't have worked anyways, when he is threatened with going to jail, and all I could think was, good, do it. Send him to jail, he's an a-hole. This is the guy the movie wants you to root for. But then again, nobody in this film is really interesting or enjoyable because the dialogue in this movie feels like it comes from a 90s sitcom. It feels so stale with every eye-rolling block of comedy that was not needed and did not help. Pretty much every line in here that's supposed to be clever is just going to make you roll your eyes, and they cram in here awkward comedy moments that feel completely out of place with the rest of the movie. It feels like this movie was all business, no art. And I'm not saying everything out there has to be high culture and hoity-toity artsy-fartsy films. I enjoy a big dumb summer blockbuster just like everybody else. But this one is so generic, the poster for it might as well have just been a white page with the word movie in the middle. And don't get me wrong, it's not all terrible. In fact, a lot of it is just meh, whatever. It's like oatmeal. And oatmeal is fine, but this whole film is just a giant mound of oatmeal that they're going to shove into your face until you eat it, and after the first bowlful, yeah, I'm kinda done. I kinda need something special in here. But that's not what makes this movie really bad. What makes it go from bad to groan-worthy, from disappointing to dear God, what is wrong with you? Universal wants in on that Marvel money. They want to create a cinematic universe, and honestly, I'm totally okay with that. I mean, hell, the Universal monsters were the original cinematic universe. But this film doesn't care about how they do it. They just want it done. This is not The Mummy, this is Dark Universe Part 1. Despite how you feel about cinematic universes, whether you love them or hate them, everyone tends to agree that their least favorite parts of them are when the film just stops to advertise the rest of the universe. The Mummy does that for half the movie. And while most of the other cinematic universe films will give you at least one movie that they leave completely by themselves so that you can get to know the characters in this world and to plant some seeds before they start to throw you into the deep end, The Mummy is the first movie in their cinematic universe. This is when you need to get attached to characters, and instead, they just don't care about that. They just want to advertise their other films. When I said this feels 100% business-oriented, 0% artistic, that's what I'm talking about. It feels like the producers of this film just came in and said, get this universe rolling. We gotta make that Avengers money and we need it now. And I'm not kidding when I compare it to the Avengers. The middle of this film just stops to introduce you to the monster version of S.H.I.E.L.D. This movie wants to move on to the next movie so quickly that in The Mummy, the first film in the Dark Universe, The Mummy, they just stop the whole film so Tom Cruise can fight Mr. Hyde. a completely different Universal monster. I have seen Cinematic Universe movies hammer in the idea of their universe poorly before, but this one takes the cake. This makes Batman vs. Superman look like Wonder Woman. This makes Iron Man 2 look like Iron Man 1. And yet the kicker, the thing that makes it so bad it's unbearable, is the arrogance of it all. It's not that the cinematic universe is being handled horribly right out the gate. It's that you can feel the producers of this film applauding themselves and patting themselves on the back. You can feel them all throughout this film, every time they hint at their future films, turning to you with a big grin on their face saying, "Don't worry, we got this," when they so clearly do not got this. Watching this movie is like watching a drunk driver tell you he knows what he's doing while he's running over a mailbox. They already tried to start a cinematic universe with Dracula Untold, and it was panned by critics and audiences and bombed at the box office, so they're trying it again, but rather than saying, "Hey, we screwed up once before, let's just take this easy and see what happens," they went in guns blazing like the end of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and spoilers for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, but just like how that movie ends, I'm pretty sure this franchise is going to get shot down too. This film on its own is so generic and bland, I was going to give it a 4 out of 10, but when I think about how this film didn't actually care, it just wanted to set up their universe without actually building a foundation or trying to make a good movie all on its own. When I think about all the potential it just wasted and then turned to you as if to say, "You're welcome," yeah, I'm dropping this all the way down to a 2 out of 10. Thanks for tuning in to another Thorgi mini review. We do these each weekend as well as spoiler talks and game reviews, so if you want to see our spoiler talk for The Mummy, then go ahead and click right there. Also, follow us on Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr, all at Professor Thorgi. Thanks again, everyone. Come back next time.